Ocean View in the summer was always dressed in a dazzling carnival coat. Emily Carter wove her way through the crowd, telling herself, "This time I'm going to eat until I'm full, eat well, and not think about the balance sheet." She had just taken a break after finishing a stressful project at work. As she passed the festival's central square, she was drawn to a roasted coconut ice cream stand, its rich, nutty fragrance wafting through the air. Beside it sat a row of charming tables in a VIP section decorated with vases of sunflowers and crisp white tablecloths. There wasn't a VIP sign in sight. "My feet are begging for mercy." She calmly pulled out a chair, carefully set her handbag beside her, and was promptly served a golden scoop of roasted coconut ice cream topped with a sprinkle of crispy dried coconut. Oh my! Emily closed her eyes to savor the very first spoonful, but before she could take a second bite, a tall shadow fell across the table. Standing before her was a man easily over 6 feet tall, dressed in a white rolled sleeve shirt and casual khaki pants. Yet the way he stood, the confident posture, the calm depth in his eyes, made Emily instinctively swallow her ice cream a little too quickly, as if afraid she was about to be interrogated. "This is my table." Startled, Emily shot up to her feet on reflex. I didn't know." But instead of looking annoyed, the corner of his mouth curved into the faintest, most dangerous smile. "Sit down," Emily blinked. "If you've already eaten my ice cream, the least you can do is say thank you." He pulled out a chair and sat opposite her, his movements unhurried, not bothering to ask for permission, as if her having taken his table didn't matter at all. She wanted to leave, yet couldn't help but feel curious. Who buys ice cream, lets a stranger eat it, and then invites them to stay? Warmer, but with a hint of something else, as if that roasted coconut ice cream might be the start of a much bigger story, when the man across from her casually set a VIP card on the table. The gold lettering gleamed under the late afternoon sun. She tilted her head, glanced at the card, then back at him. You're the marketing guy for Brooks Creamery?" Emily guessed, her voice a little shaky. "I'm Ethan Brooks, owner of Vaughn Creamery and the main sponsor of this festival." She glanced around. Vaughn Creamery signs were everywhere, and somehow she hadn't noticed. "I must be behind on the news." Emily pressed her lips together, didn't know the face behind it. "Honestly, it's rare to meet someone in Ocean View who doesn't know what I look like. Probably because I'm an accountant." Emily rested her chin on her hand, half joking. He laughed, a warm, deep sound like the tide rolling in. "Well, consider today a direct education." Emily gave an awkward smile, ready to change the subject when her eyes landed on the ice cream menu beside them. Classic vanilla, mint chocolate, sea salt, passion fruit, roasted coconut, almond. "If you're the owner, then tell me, which flavor is the best?" Ethan tilted his head, thinking for a second. "That's a tough question. It's like asking a musician which of their songs is the best. I promise I won't sue." "All right." He smiled and leaned slightly closer. "It's a little salty and tart, but finish is sweet." "Oh, how philosophical." Emily feigned seriousness. Ethan laughed. "And how fast is that? 3 scoops in under 2 minutes. I am honest." She raised her hand as if swearing in court. It was too hot and the ice cream melted by itself. "I've never met anyone who eats ice cream at such alarming speed." "Hey, it's a natural talent. And eating fast is a strategy. Ruins the presentation. But eat too fast and you can't savor the flavor." Emily braced her elbows on the table, staring at him as if he just said the most ridiculous thing in the world. "You can still savor it. The trick is technique." "All right, now I'm curious. You talk about speed and technique in the same breath." Emily cleared her throat like she was about to present to a panel of judges. 2. The first spoonful must be huge. That's your first impression. Like roasted coconut ice cream, the first layer is rich and creamy. 4. Eat fast enough so it doesn't melt, but still have time to wow at every spoonful. Sounds like an instruction manual, but an entertaining one, Emily asked. "What's the tycoon's ritual?" "Really look. Then I smell it. Finally, if the ice cream is perfect, I eat very slowly. So, you eat like a detective, and I eat like a sprinter. Fair enough, Ethan smiled. The conversation flowed easily, so naturally that Emily surprised herself. But Ethan didn't make her feel pressured. On the contrary, he asked with genuine interest, and every answer of hers made him laugh or smile. Ethan tilted his head, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. Emily instantly covered her cup like a child guarding a toy. You trying to steal it? He shook his head, though his eyes stayed on her spoon. Someone who can chat and eat ice cream at the speed of light. Emily laughed, but inside a strange feeling stirred. Outside, festival music still blared, laughter spilling through the air. Emily was scraping up the last bites of her ice cream, trying not to make it evident that she was cleaning the cup like she was afraid to waste any when Ethan suddenly rested his elbow on the table and tilted his head at her. Free for what? I need someone to test a new ice cream menu, Ethan said matter-of-factly, as if this was an everyday invitation. She laughed. A new ice cream menu. I do, but I want someone unprofessional. Someone who eats for fun, not for a report. So, I'm the guinea pig, if you want to call it that. Ethan shrugged, a faint smirk, tugging at his lips. Then he pulled a gleaming gold card from his shirt pocket, the festival lights reflecting off it. He placed it lightly in Emily's hand, as if handing her a treasure. 1-year VIP voucher, free ice cream at Brooks Creamery. Exactly. All you have to do is show up to the tasting tomorrow and it's yours. 1 year of free ice cream. The thought of choosing any flavor she wanted every weekend without worrying about the price made her heart race almost as fast as seeing a bigger paycheck. Sounds like a bribe. Ethan arched an eyebrow. But I promise it's not the dangerous kind. Emily chuckled, but her mind started racing through a dozen theories. And if it's a date, who gives a free ice cream pass instead of flowers? And if it's an interview, I have zero experience as a professional taster, she finally asked. She'd agree. At the Vaughn Creary plant down by the old docks. There is, and I'll give you a tour. She twirled the card between her fingers. Sounds dangerous. The most dangerous part is. Emily laughed and gave a single nod. Then see you tomorrow, Miss Hart. Wait, how do you know my last name? Emily frowned. I'm the main sponsor of the festival, remember? She glanced at the VIP card again, feeling as though she just signed a strange contract without reading the fine print. Best case, well, we'll see. The next morning, Emily drove to Seaview's old dock district. Modern in structure, yet holding the rustic charm of old warehouses. The moment she stepped inside, the scent hit her. Vanilla, chocolate, roasted coconut, salted caramel, and a faint tartness she guessed was passion fruit. Employees in pale blue uniforms bustled about, some carrying trays of fresh ice cream, some weighing ingredients, others tending to massive machines churning ice cream like they were performing magic. Ethan appeared at the end of the hallway, sleeves rolled up, jeans neat, clipboard in hand. More like a plant manager, running the floor himself. Ready? Been ready since last night. Ethan led her into a brightly lit room with a long table. We'll be tasting 12 new flavors today, Ethan said, as though it was the most normal thing in the world. We'll start easy and finish with a challenge. Sea salt chili passion fruit, pumpkin cheesecake, Earl Grey licorice. No sabotage. I just want to see your honest reaction, he said, pulling out a chair for her. Round 1, roasted coconut almond. Safe choice. Like curling up with a blanket on a winter movie night. Sea salt chili passion fruit. Tangy and spicy at once, making her widen her eyes at Ethan. He chuckled. Round 3, pumpkin cheesecake. Huh, this is good. Round 4, strawberry pink pepper. Is this ice cream or designer perfume? Leon took meticulous notes on her reactions, occasionally asking about specific tastes, while Emily kept teasing him about his recklessly creative ice cream experiments. By the 10th cup, Emily felt a little woozy. I think I'm ice cream drunk. She set her spoon down, bracing her hands on the table. Ethan's brow rose and he immediately stood. Yeah, my head's a little light and I feel kind of floaty. All right, let's get you some fresh air. He motioned for her to follow. He led her out to an expansive balcony overlooking the ocean. Sit. Ethan pulled out a chair for her, then disappeared for a few minutes and returned with a tall glass of lemonade. You'll feel better. Emily took a sip, and it was like coming back to life. See, this is the occupational hazard of ice cream tasting. Ethan smiled, leaning against the railing. But you still look more energetic than most of my staff after 12 cups. She narrowed her eyes. Job description: eat ice cream and tell the truth. Emily burst out laughing, though her mind whispered, what exactly am I getting myself into here? A tasting session or something more? The sea breeze brushed past, the scent of vanilla still lingering from inside. She was enjoying the company of the man standing before her. After yesterday's ice cream intoxication incident, Emily still couldn't quite define what kind of man Ethan Brooks really was. Yet he carried trays of ingredients himself, took notes on her reactions, and made lemonade like a friend. The Vaughn Creary office was on the second floor of the factory building. Glass walls looked straight down into the production floor below, where ice cream machines churned steadily and employees bustled back and forth. Instead, he walked right over, set the file down on the table where she sat, and smiled. Ethan took Emily to the flavor testing room. Here, fruits were diced into neat pieces, ingredients weighed to the exact gram. A new recipe always starts with inspiration. Like the sea salt chili passion fruit flavor yesterday. I came up with it while eating green mango salad at a night market. So you turn street food into ice cream. Exactly. I want every scoop to tell a story. Boss, a customer just posted a video online saying, "Our ice cream is so good, it's addictive. It's going viral." Emily chuckled. Compliments are fine, but if people start joking that Vaughn Creary causes addiction, the legal team's going to have extra work. Use it. Launch a campaign warning. Emily watched the staff jot down notes frantically, then turned to him. Ethan smiled faintly. I just don't want to sit in the CEO's chair and watch from a distance. As Emily bit into a cherry tomato, she shared, I grew up in a small town about 3 hours from here. Honestly, no. More ice than cream. Every time my dad gave me $2 for ice cream, I felt like I'd won the lottery. Ethan chuckled, but his expression softened. I used to stand for hours in front of an ice cream counter in high school just staring. Didn't buy any. Back then, I was saving up to open my own shop, he said slowly, smiling. Sounds like an inspirational teen movie, and now you're living the happy ending. Ethan gave a slight shrug, though the corners of his mouth lifted. The happy ending still to be determined. She joked that if Brooks Creamery offered home delivery, she'd be customer number 1. He replied that he'd charge her a special delivery fee. Their laughter echoed down the hallway so much that a group of employees passing by turned to look. One woman in the group whispered, "They must have known each other for ages." Emily heard it, thought of correcting her, but let it slide. By 4 o'clock, Emily was ready to head home. Just before she stepped into the elevator, Ethan called out, "Are you free tomorrow? I've got a new flavor launch at the Central Plaza." Inviting me to eat ice cream again? Emily grinned. This time I'm inviting you to work the booth with me. Emily blinked, caught between surprise and curiosity. That evening, View's Central Plaza glowed under a blanket of lights. The summer festival had entered its 3rd day, and tonight was the outdoor fair paired with a live music night. As soon as Emily stepped out of her car, she spotted Leon waiting by the fairground gate, hands in his pockets, sleeves rolled up, his face far more relaxed than the busy one she'd seen before. Right on time, he glanced at his watch, smiling. No ice cream tasting tonight, but there's still dessert. Emily grinned, recalling the ice cream hangover from the other day. From roasted corn and fried donuts to spun cotton candy, strings of golden lights draped overhead made the whole place feel like walking through a living painting. As they walked, Ethan pointed out different stalls, sprinkling in funny stories from last year's festival. That over there is the ring toss. Ethan nodded toward a booth lined with glass bottles. Fair warning. The stall owner handed her 5 plastic rings. Emily aimed and, missed the first one by at least half a meter. "Wait, are you trying to take me out so you don't have to keep playing?" "Not my fault," Emily protested, though her cheeks warmed. Ethan asked for a few rings of his own, then tossed one clean through the center bottle. Grand prize. "For you?" Emily hugged it, grinning like a kid on Christmas, but still teased. "So, showing off your ring toss skills to impress me, huh?" Ethan met her eyes, his voice lower and slower. "I just wanted to see you smile like that." Her heartbeat quickened, and she clutched the bear a little tighter to hide her smile. Emily bit into one, the sugar melting on her tongue. "So good," she sighed. Emily chewed, eyeing him. People are warmer in the winter when they've put on a little weight. She nearly choked on the sugar. The giant teddy soon became a bit of a problem. A little boy passing by exclaimed, "Mom, I want that bear." Emily glanced at Ethan. The sight of a tall CEO in a white shirt carrying a massive teddy bear turned more than a few heads. Emily walked beside him, laughing so hard her stomach hurt. "Careful." Ethan shot her aside. "I might take that as flirting." Emily feigned seriousness. Their eyes met briefly, and in the golden glow of the fairground, Emily felt something warmer than the light jacket around her shoulders. When the festival wound down, Ethan insisted on driving her home to ensure the bear's safe arrival. Before she stepped out, Emily hugged the bear. "Me too, and I hope this isn't the last." Emily walked into her house with her heart still racing, while outside, Leon started the engine, his smile lingering just the same. The next morning, Emily had barely stepped into her usual corner cafe when she sensed something was off. But today the woman leaned over the counter, eyes glinting with mischief. Emily frowned. "What news?" "News about you and ice cream. Tycoon Vaughn." "What?" The owner winked. "They say you two were spotted at the fair last night eating donuts while carrying a giant teddy bear." Emily covered her face, feeling like she'd been cast as the lead in a play she hadn't even read the script for. Ocean View was a small town, and news here traveled faster than free Wi-Fi. At the flower shop, I heard Ethan even won the ring toss just to get her that giant teddy bear. At the fish market. At the hair salon, my niece said they looked at each other like they were in a movie. And that wasn't the end of it. That afternoon, 3 elderly women, Ocean View's infamous matchmaking trio, showed up at the accounting office where Emily worked. "We just wanted to introduce ourselves." Emily stood up, offering an awkward smile. "I hear you're terrible at ring toss, but at least you walked away with the biggest prize." The third planted her hands on her hips and grinned. Emily was caught between laughter and the urge to hide, under her desk. The answer did nothing to dull their enthusiasm. The first woman patted her shoulder. That evening, Emily decided to swing by the ice cream factory to return the giant teddy bear. She figured keeping it at home would only add fuel to the rumor fire. Spotting her, he smiled. "About what?" "About starting the rumor that the ice cream tycoon has a new girlfriend all over town. So you've heard? Let the rumor run its course." "But you're not bothered?" she asked, surprised. Emily blinked. They sat at a small table on the balcony, the ocean breeze carrying the scent of vanilla from the factory below. Emily recounted her run-in with the matchmaking trio and how everyone had been eyeing her all day. "You know, in this town, the moment someone sees me with a woman, they're already picking out wedding invitations." "So, you're used to it?" Emily almost asked what's different, but stayed quiet. Before she left, Ethan said, "There's a grand opening for a new Vaughn Creary store this weekend. Want to come with me?" "Then I'll ask the matchmaking trio to convince you," he said with a grin. "All right, I'll go. But you'd better be ready. The rumors will flare up again." "I don't mind," Leon said slowly. She realized that among all the gossip and curious stares in town, what lingered most in her mind was the way Leon had just looked at her. Von Creary's newest store had just opened, and naturally, Ethan Brooks, the town's famed ice cream tycoon, was the star of the event. Emily walked in with a mix of excitement and curiosity. Inside looked nothing like any ice cream shop she'd seen before. The air was rich with vanilla, chocolate, and coconut. And after just a minute, her stomach gave an eager growl. When he noticed her, he raised his brows slightly and smiled, a smile that made her heart give a subtle jolt. Clearly, the rumor mill was still alive and well. Try it. Emily took a spoonful, letting the sweet tang of strawberry melt into the creamy saltiness of cheesecake. Delicious. Ethan just gave a faint smile and gestured for her to follow. They slipped through a small door behind the counter into the production area, a place regular customers weren't allowed. Mixers churned steadily, fresh berries, handcrafted syrups, and spices she couldn't even name. Sweet, cool air wrapped around her, making Emily feel like she'd wandered into a wonderland. Ethan opened a commercial freezer, pulling out a small, unlabeled tub of ice cream and offering her a spoon. "This is my secret project," Emily teased. "Codes or alien ingredients? Maybe something better." She scooped a spoonful. Emily frowned slightly. "It's good, but I can't place all the flavors. The recipe isn't finished." Resting her chin on her hand, she smirked. "What if you made an ice cream flavored like gossip with me?" She expected him to laugh, but instead, Ethan held her gaze, eyes steady as if searching for something. "Not joking. Me. You make everything more interesting, even just eating ice cream or wandering a fair. You're not trying to impress me, and that's what impresses me most." Her cheeks warmed. To break the moment, Ethan began telling her about the first time he made ice cream in high school, the old machine he bought with his savings, the countless kitchen disasters that almost got him banned from cooking by his mom. Emily laughed, picturing it, realizing that Ethan wasn't just a polished, successful businessman, but also a boy who had once stubbornly chased a simple dream. Ethan grabbed another tub and handed her the spoon. "Help me test it." Emily took the spoon, noticing how close they were. Vanilla with a hint of warm wood. She tasted it and smiled. "Then I just need to add a little something like what happens when you talk to me." When they returned to the counter, Ethan handed her a large cup, a mix of all the flavors she'd tried that day. "Consider it a thank you for accidentally becoming my muse." As she stepped out of the shop, Emily carried the cup in her hand and a sweetness that came not just from chocolate or salted orange, but from the way Leon had looked at her when he said those words. On the way home, the ocean breeze was through her hair, and she knew this was a flavor she wouldn't forget. If this story found you outside of Soul Stories, we invite you home to where every touching tale begins with truth, hope, and heart. Colorful flags fluttered overhead. Rows of food stalls lined the square. Locals poured in, eager to sample the treats and watch the town's signature amusements. Emily had only planned to drop by for a stroll, iced coffee in hand, weaving leisurely through the crowd. But before she knew it, the voice of the event's MC boomed through the speakers. She froze in her tracks. Just then, Ethan appeared behind her, wearing the most punchable grin she'd ever seen. "I signed you up." "You what?" "I never signed up." "Exactly." He said it as though it were the most natural thing in the world, then gently guided her toward the stage. "Up you go." Before she could protest, the crowd erupted into cheers and applause. There was no way out now. The long contest table was covered in a crisp white cloth, each spot set with a giant sundae. The air was thick with the sweet scent of vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. The MC called out, "Rules are simple. Finish your sundae first and you win." Emily dove in with her first spoonful, painfully cold, but the rich, creamy sweetness melted so quickly on her tongue that she couldn't resist another bite. 3. She glanced sideways. She couldn't let them win. Somewhere in the blur, she spotted Leon in front of the stage, arms folded, smiling like he was watching a masterpiece unfold. "Come on!" he yelled. Just minutes later, Emily set her spoon down and leaned back, taking a deep, triumphant breath. "We have a winner," the MC announced. The crowd erupted in cheers and whistles. "Oh no!" She pressed her hands to her temples, wincing. "That's called a brain freeze, not an overdose." "Feels like an overdose to me," she groaned. "I'm taking you home," he said, turning his back to her. "You're not walking in this state." Emily wanted to argue, but another icy stab convinced her otherwise. She climbed onto his back, hearing the crowd's delighted laughter. Emily buried her face against his shoulder to hide and caught the familiar comforting scent of vanilla in warm wood from his shirt. "This was your plan all along, wasn't it?" she asked as they left the festival grounds. "You still won, didn't you?" "No, you'll be back. I'm going to make you a new flavor." That shut her up. At her front door, Ethan sat her down gently. "Drink something warm, and don't forget to tell everyone you just beat the entire town. I'll just tell them I have a very strange coach. Strange, but effective." He turned to leave but glanced back with a slanted smile. The door clicked shut and Emily rested her forehead against it, smiling to herself. Maybe this was the first time in her life she was glad to be forced into, eating ice cream until her head ached. Morning in Seaview was anything but peaceful. Coldwell Foods and a giant in the food industry was in talks to buy out Vaughn Creary. Everywhere in town, from the fish counter at the market to the barber's chair, people were whispering, "Is the ice cream tycoon selling the company?" She froze, her heart skipping a beat. Ethan would lose his dream. When she stepped into the ice cream shop, the atmosphere felt like a layer of frost had settled over it. The door was shut, but through the frosted glass, Emily could see him standing with one hand braced on the desk, the other holding his phone, his voice taut like a drawn bowring. She knocked, then pushed the door open. "I come bearing supplies. How you like it?" For a split second, the weariness in his eyes broke through before he smoothed it over. "Thanks." Emily set the cup on his desk and sat across from him, arms crossed. "Exactly why I'm here. What's so serious? Coldwell Foods has made an offer to buy my entire operation. The number they've put on the table is enough to make anyone in this industry think twice," Emily pressed. His voice dropped lower. "Vaughn Creary is 10 years of my life. It's the livelihood of dozens of people here. They've planted stories in the press claiming we're in financial trouble, trying to drag our brand value down." Emily's brow furrowed. "And that's not all." Ethan grabbed a folder from his desk and tossed it toward her. She flipped through a few pages, her blood simmering. Ethan stayed silent. For the first time, she saw something in his eyes that looked a lot like fatigue. "Drink, Emily." Her voice was firm. "You need a clear head more than you need to stay wound tight like a piano wire." Emily pulled up a chair beside him and lowered her voice. "Coldwell only wins if you lose your fight, and I'm not letting that happen." Ethan's lips twitched, though his shoulders stayed tense. The part where she took a bite, burst into tears, and went running for water had him finally laughing out loud. "See that? Laughing is the first step to beating pressure. You are something else." "Thank you." Ethan glanced at the caller ID, frowning. Emily leaned over, caught a glimpse of the name, and smirked. He gave a faint nod. "If they want to bring you down with rumors, let them see you're unshaken." Ethan studied her for a moment, then hit accept. Emily couldn't hear the whole exchange, but she saw the way he straightened, his voice steadier and firmer than it had been minutes earlier. "Told you coffee and a funny story are stronger weapons than you think. Salary? 1 year of free ice cream. I'll take it, but only if you promise Vaughn Creary stays in Ocean View." Promise? In that moment, Emily realized she wasn't just helping a friend, and maybe she was ready for it. That afternoon, as she headed for the door, Ethan called after her. "What is it?" The words made her blink, not just because of what they meant, but because of the way he looked at her when he said them. She felt like he'd just given her a promise, or maybe an invitation to a journey longer than she'd ever imagined. But no one seemed to notice the weather. All eyes were fixed on the Brooks Creamery building. When Emily walked into the office, she found Ethan standing at a whiteboard, marker in hand, scrawling out lines of strategy. "Coldwell is going to announce the deal next Monday morning," Ethan said without looking up. "If they do that, even without a signed contract, the market will believe I've sold." Emily finished for him, her voice quieter than usual. Ethan set the marker down and turned to face her. Emily was silent for a few seconds, then stepped forward, bracing her hands on the desk, her eyes brightening. "What are you suggesting?" This whole town loves Brooks Creamery. The Summer Food Festival is just 2 days away, and the local TV station will be filming live. We have to move before their press conference. Coldwell won't see it coming. The problem is, I don't have a new product. You forget already the gossip with Emily Flavor. A low laugh escaped him, but then he nodded slowly as if gears were turning in his mind. It could work. Exactly. And you'll need a story people will remember. I think I just found it. They spent the entire evening in Vaughn Creary's test kitchen. He turned out roasted coconut with caramel and a hint of sea salt, classic vanilla drizzled with honey ginger sauce. "This one's great," she said, wincing after the 7th sample, "but I'll cut the ginger in half." The atmosphere between them was both focused and unexpectedly warm. Ethan spoke about selling ice cream at a fair when he was 17. Emily told him about the summer she was 14, working in the old ice cream shop in her hometown. Inside, the air was filled with the scent of vanilla, the steady hum of mixers, and their shared laughter, enough to soften the pressure pressing in on Brooks Creamery. This is it. The flavor that's going to save the company. Emily took a spoonful. She looked at him and smiled. "This flavor, it's just like you." "How so?" His gaze held hers longer than it needed to. "If this is ice cream, then you're the reason I found the recipe. All right, back to work." Ethan smiled and turned back to the workstation, but that smile lingered at the corners of his mouth for a long time after. That morning, Emily woke up intending to stop by Brooks Creamery to see how Ethan was holding up after days of non-stop work. His soul. "You're not working today. I can't." She folded her arms and tilted her head. "You've been working non-stop for days." Ethan stared at her, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. "Kidnap you?" Emily replied with a shrug as if it were the most obvious answer in the world. 15 minutes later, Leon still wasn't sure how she had convinced him. Emily sat opposite him in a light sundress, hair tied high under a straw hat. She handed him a fishing rod with a bright smile. Ethan gazed out over the vast stretch of blue, the salty breeze cool against his face. They didn't catch much. In fact, Ethan hooked a torn sneaker while Emily had her bait stolen by a crab. Each time Leon fumbled with the hook, Emily reached over to adjust his grip, her fingers brushing his, the fleeting warmth making both of them fall quiet for a moment longer than necessary. There was no fancy menu, just grilled fish, steamed shrimp, scallops, and a steaming bowl of seafood chowder that filled the air with the scent of the sea. "I swear this chowder is so good you'll want to open a whole Vaughn seafood chain," Emily said, dipping a piece of bread into her bowl. "I'd be your brand ambassador paid in a year's supply of free seafood." She shot back without missing a beat. "You really do know how to bargain." "We're making ice cream," she declared, eyes lighting up like a child in a toy store. That was ancient history. Today's ice cream therapy. They set to work creating a new flavor. Everything was going fine until Emily added way too much sweetened condensed milk, turning the mixture into something with the texture of wet cement. He froze, giving her a mock warning look, though the corner of his mouth curved up. "You just made a strategic mistake." Before she could react, he scooped a little and tapped it onto her nose. And soon, the kitchen had turned into a full-blown, sweet, sticky ice cream battlefield. Eventually, they slumped against the kitchen counter, catching their breath, spoons still in hand, each with a little smear of ice cream on their nose. Emily glanced over and found Lion looking at her, his eyes warm but edge with something more profound. "I think I'd forgotten what a day without pressure feels like." "Then remember it," she smiled gently, wiping the smear from his nose. "Sometimes letting go of everything is the only way to hold on to what matters." Ethan didn't answer, but the way he looked at her made Emily's heart skip a beat. It wasn't just because tomorrow would be the biggest festival of the year, but also because today Ethan Vaughn would announce a special plan. As Emily stepped into the office, coffee in hand, she saw him standing in front of the large board speaking rapidly with the marketing team and production managers. When he noticed her, Ethan only had time for a brief smile before turning back to his presentation. sea salt blended with warm ginger and caramel. Briny, warm, and sweet. His deep, steady voice carried each word as if it struck directly into the air. And a large portion of the revenue from this product will go into the Community Support Fund. The room stirred. One employee hesitantly asked, "But you've never announced these activities before." Ethan paused, his eyes reflecting a thoughtful glint. "For years, we've contributed quietly with only a few people in the company knowing, but now the company is being targeted by a major corporation." He paused for a moment, looking each person in the eye. "This is a strategy to keep the company. If the community sees that we belong to them, they'll stand with us. It will belong to all of Ocean View, not just the cool-headed ice cream mogul, but a man who poured his entire heart into every decision." The day rushed by in a flurry of tasks, finalizing the marketing plan, confirming the guest list, and testing the new flavor one last time. Ethan stood and turned to her. As they stepped outside, rain began to fall. First as a light sprinkle, then quickly turning into a downpour. "Let's wait out the rain," he said, opening the door for her. The cozy little space was filled with a scent of butter and chocolate. The golden light from the shop reflected on Leon's face, softening the weariness of the long day. "Emily, I want you by my side for the long term." She froze, her fork suspended midair. "You mean in the lifetime ice cream tester position?" she teased, trying to hide the sudden quickening of her heartbeat. "Number." She pretended to focus on her plate, but his gaze never left her face. "I'm not good at this whole confessing thing. I'd lose the chance to see you here every day." But in that moment, Emily felt as if the entire room had quieted, leaving only the sound of her heartbeat and the deep, unwavering look in Leon's eyes. The Seaview Food Festival that year began under a cloudless sky with colorful flags fluttering in the sea breeze and lively music filling the central square. Ethan stepped onto the main stage, dressed simply yet carrying an unmistakable air of confidence and authority. He glanced at her briefly before facing the hundreds of eyes watching from below. "Hello, Ocean View." Ethan's voice came through the microphone, deep yet warm. "Today, I want to tell you the truth. Brooks Creamery has never been just an ice cream company. The only sound, the gentle crash of waves in the distance. From scholarships for children to supporting struggling families to repairing the old harbor, I never announced it because I didn't do it for praise. But today, I have to speak up. We're facing the risk of losing Brooks Creamery to an unfamiliar corporation. You don't want that to happen. And I believe that if we stand together, Brooks Creamery will not only survive, it will enter a new era for the community, for Ocean View." Ethan signaled for the staff to wheel out a table draped in white cloth. On the table sat rows of brand new salt and Seebsy ice cream. Their caramel gold, tops dusted with sparkling sea salt. It's salty like the sea, warm like the sun, and sweet like the bond Ocean View shares with one another. Starting today, a large portion of the revenue from Salt and Sea Breeze will go to the Seaway Better Fund, a development fund for this town. Cameras from the press and media flashed non-stop. Ethan raised his hand for quiet once more, then smiled towards Emily. "And finally, I want to give a special thank you to Emily Carter, the one who reminded me that Brooks Creamery is not just work, but joy, sharing, and hope." A few people whistled teasingly while the town's self-appointed matchmakers grinned knowingly. That evening, as the crowd thinned, Emily was helping clear the tables when Leon received a phone call. The screen lit up with a name, Coldwell, the man leading the corporation trying to take over Brooks Creamery. Ethan Bond speaking. "You've just chained yourself to that pathetic little town, Ethan. You think this community PR stunt will save your company. It's not a PR stunt. You'll regret this," Coldwell said. Each word clipped. Number. "My company will stand strong, stronger than ever." Warmth rose in his chest. The closing night of the Seaview Festival was always the most dazzling moment of the year. The central square sparkled under hundreds of strings of golden lights. Live music filled the air, blending with the laughter and chatter of hundreds of locals and visitors. He wore a crisp white shirt with the sleeves neatly rolled up, still exuding that quiet authority that made people take notice. Suddenly, the MC's voice rang out over the microphone. Emily blinked, curious. Ethan stepped up to the microphone, a hint of a mysterious smile on his lips. "Tonight, I'd like to invite someone very special to join me on stage." The square erupted in cheers and applause. Emily blushed, her heart pounding as everyone turned to look at her, urging her forward. "This is a flavor I created just for you." She was just about to take a bite when she felt something hard inside. Frowning slightly, she looked closer and gasped. She laughed, covering her mouth. "You're proposing, but still want me to eat the ice cream first?" The crowd below roared with laughter. Ethan leaned toward her, his voice warm and teasing. "You know me." Then in the middle of the stage, under the shimmering lights and the cheers of the whole town, he dropped to one knee. "Everywhere from Ocean View to Anywhere We Go." Emily looked at him, feeling as though the whole festival and the vast Seaview sky were contained in his eyes. If the marriage contract includes a clause for one new flavor every week, then yes. Fireworks exploded in the sky above, the scent of the sea mingling with the sweetness of ice cream, marking a night Ocean View would talk about for years to come. The following summer, Sea was once again filled with the scent of the sea and the sound of laughter. But for Emily, everything was completely different this year. No longer the girl who had accidentally sat at the wrong VIP table to sneak a toasted coconut ice cream. She was now Emily Vaughn, the wife of famous ice cream mogul Ethan Brooks and the head of Vaughn Creary's experimental flavors department. Colorful stalls lined the streets, the hum of ice cream machines mingling with children's delighted squeals as they received their cold treats. The table was loaded with dozens of toppings, fresh strawberries, chocolate chips, gummy candies, cookie crumbs, caramel, each one filling the air with sweet aromas. In a pale blue dress and an apron printed with the Vaughn Creary logo, Emily beamed as she showed the kids how to decorate their ice cream. "Too much, and your ice cream might collapse before you get to eat it," she teased, making the children burst into giggles. Even as CEO, he had his sleeves rolled up, working like any other server. "Extra chocolate topping, please," Mr. A curly-haired little girl called out. From time to time, when no one was watching, his gaze would drift to Emily. Seeing her laugh and chat with the crowd, Leon felt as though he was back in those early days when she had unexpectedly walked into his life in a way that was pure sea view, sweet, surprising, and just a little messy. Ethan smiled, leaning his forehead against hers. "I remember, and I'll thank that wrong table for the rest of my life." She laughed, giving his shoulder a playful shove. "Stop it. I think everyone wants to hear a love story that began with ice cream." Together, Emily and Leon scooped and handed out each cone. The air was filled with grateful little thank yous and radiant smiles. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the square in gold, Emily sat on the steps watching the children play with ice, cream cones in hand. "You know," he said as he sat beside her, "people say summer always ends, but I think with you my summer will never end. And I think with you every day can start with ice cream and end with laughter." Their colors reflected on the water like thousands of gemstones. Vaughn Creary was no longer just a company, and the story of the girl who sat at the wrong table and the ice cream mogul would be told again and again at every festival. For them, summer would never end.